Cadbury has recalled one of its most popular product over concerns the chocolate could contain pieces of plastic.
That block of chocolate in your pantry right now. Go grab it. I'll wait. Back? Good. Now flip it over. Read the ingredient list. Really read it. If you see palm oil, vegetable fats, or PGPR, whatever the hell that is, you're not holding chocolate. You're holding sugar and cheap oils wrapped in branding that costs more than the ingredients inside. Because what Australian supermarkets call chocolate isn't chocolate anymore. It's vegetable fat colored brown, palm oil mixed with just enough cocoa to legally use the word on the wrapper. Brands your grandparents trusted quietly reformulated decades ago and never told anyone. I spent 3 weeks analyzing chocolate ingredient labels, tracking corporate takeovers, and researching contamination scandals. What I found made me bin half the chocolate in my house. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 10 brands to avoid, including one healthy dark chocolate that's contaminated with heavy metals. And I'll show you the 3 brands that are genuinely clean. Stay until the end. Number 1 will genuinely shock you. Number 10. Cadbury Dairy Milk. For over a century, Cadbury meant Australian chocolate. Since 1922, the purple wrapper is burned into Australian childhood. Your nan had it in her handbag. Your mum bought it for road trips. Cadbury Dairy Milk was the chocolate that tasted like home. That was before Mondelez bought them, American multinational. They bought Cadbury in 2010 and immediately started changing everything. The factories, the recipes, the ingredients. Read the ingredients on Australian Cadbury Dairy Milk now. Milk solids, sugar, cocoa butter, cocoa mass, vegetable fat, emulsifiers, soy lecithin, 476, flavors. Stop right there. Vegetable fat, that's palm oil. Cadbury never used palm oil before Mondelez. It was pure cocoa butter, milk, and sugar. Palm oil is cheaper than cocoa butter, significantly cheaper. Mondelez added it to cut costs while maintaining the same retail price. You're paying the same money for cheaper ingredients. The profit margin increased, the quality decreased. Open a Cadbury block right now. Break off a piece. Notice how it feels waxy, how it doesn't melt cleanly on your tongue the way it used to. That's the palm oil. Real chocolate melts at body temperature. Smooth, clean. This stuff coats your mouth with an oily film. The taste changed too. Cadbury used to have distinctive creamy sweetness. Now it tastes flatter. The cocoa flavor is muted. There's a slight chemical aftertaste. Australians noticed. Social media exploded. People doing side-by-side comparisons with UK Cadbury and realizing ours tastes worse because it is worse. The UK version still uses the original recipe, pure cocoa butter, higher cocoa content. Australian Cadbury is a cheaper formulation made specifically for our market. In 2016, Australians launched a petition demanding Mondelez remove palm oil from Cadbury. Over 25,000 signatures. Mondelez response? They said palm oil was sustainable and met their quality standards. Translation? We're not changing because profit margins matter more than your preferences. For Australian families buying Cadbury Dairy Milk thinking you're getting the same chocolate your grandparents loved, you're funding an American multinational that bought your childhood nostalgia, reformulated it with cheaper ingredients, and kept charging you the same price. Purple wrapper heritage, American owned now. Palm oil replaced cocoa butter. Number 9. Nestle Kit Kat Budget Chocolate. Multi-packs at Woolies for $6. Seems like decent value for families wanting affordable treats. Kids love them. Easy lunchbox editions. Read the ingredients: sugar, wheat flour, vegetable fat, cocoa butter, milk solids, cocoa mass, emulsifier, soy lecithin, 476, raising agent, flavors, salt. Focus on that emulsifier code, 476. That's PGPR, polyglycerol polyricinoleate. PGPR is a cheap synthetic emulsifier derived from castor bean oil. It exists for one reason: to replace expensive cocoa butter with cheaper vegetable fats while keeping everything mixed together. Real chocolate uses cocoa butter. PGPR allows manufacturers to cut cocoa butter content by up to 50% and replace it with palm oil. Europe limits PGPR levels because studies suggest potential gut issues and allergic reactions. Australia, no meaningful restrictions. Nestle can pump in as much as they want. Open a Kit Kat right now. Break it. Smell it. Real chocolate has rich cocoa aroma. This smells faintly sweet and slightly chemical. Taste it. The chocolate coating feels waxy and grainy. It doesn't melt smoothly. That's cheap vegetable fat mixed with PGPR instead of pure cocoa butter. Here's the Nestle problem beyond ingredients. Decades of ethical controversies, baby formula marketing in developing countries, water privatization battles, child labor in cocoa supply chains, multiple scandals, multiple boycotts. For parents, throwing Kit Kats in the kids' lunchbox boxes thinking you're giving them a harmless treat. You're feeding them industrial emulsifiers, artificial flavors, and a multinational corporation's cost-cutting chemistry. Budget multi-pack appeal. PGPR replacing cocoa butter. Nestlé's ethical disasters continue. Number 8. Lindt Excellence Dark 85%. Premium dark chocolate. Swiss Heritage Health Food Store positioning. $14 for 100 grams. That's $140 per kilogram. Luxury pricing for what the marketing promises is luxury chocolate. Walk into any Woolies or Coles. Lindt dominates the premium chocolate aisle. Australians pay $14 thinking Swiss means clean and healthy. Health-conscious Australians buy this thinking dark chocolate equals healthy, high cocoa percentage, antioxidants. All the wellness influencers say so. Here's what nobody told you. In 2022, Consumer Reports in America tested popular dark chocolate brands for heavy metal contamination, lead and cadmium, toxic metals that accumulate in your body over time. Guess which brand had some of the highest levels? Lindt Excellence Dark 85%. Contamination levels high enough that regular consumption exceeds safe exposure limits. We're talking cadmium levels that could cause kidney damage and bone disease with regular consumption. Lindt's response? They said their products are safe to eat and meet all regulatory standards. Technically true, Australia doesn't have strict heavy metal limits for chocolate, so Lindt can legally sell contaminated chocolate while claiming it's safe. But here's what makes it worse. The alkali processing. Dutch processing. Sounds fancy. European. What it actually means is they treat cocoa with alkaline solution to reduce bitterness and darken color. Also destroys up to 90% of the flavonoids and antioxidants. You're paying $140 per kilo for healthy dark chocolate that's been chemically processed until the health benefits are mostly gone, then contaminated with heavy metals during production. The antioxidants you're buying it for? Destroyed. For health-conscious adults buying expensive dark chocolate thinking you're investing in antioxidants and clean eating, you're consuming heavy metal contamination and chemically processed cocoa that's had its health benefits destroyed while paying luxury prices. Premium dark chocolate positioning. Heavy metal contamination confirmed. Alkali processing destroys antioxidants. Number 7. Whittaker's. The Kiwi chocolate Australians trust. Premium New Zealand brand. Creamy milk chocolate branding. Beautiful packaging. Slightly higher price than Cadbury. Everything suggests superior quality. Read the ingredients on Whittaker's creamy milk. Sugar, milk powder, cocoa butter, cocoa mass, emulsifier, soy lecithin, vanilla flavor. Wait, milk powder. Not fresh milk, not cream, milk powder. Real premium chocolate uses fresh milk or cream. Whittaker's uses reconstituted milk powder because it's cheaper and shelf stable. The creamy in creamy milk is marketing, not ingredients. But here's the real deception. Some Whittaker's varieties contain vegetable fat, not in all of them, but in certain products, particularly ones designed to compete with cheaper brands, they've added vegetable fats to cut costs. The label will say contains milk solids and/or vegetable fat. That slash is doing criminal work, either milk or vegetable fat. They won't specify which because it changes based on commodity prices. You never know what you're actually eating. Open a Whittaker's block, break it, taste it carefully. There's a slight graininess. That's the milk powder. Real chocolate made with fresh dairy has silkier texture. The flavor is fine, not exceptional, just fine. For a brand positioning itself as premium, the taste should be noticeably better. It's not. You're paying 30% more for chocolate that's 10% better. For Australians buying Whittaker's thinking you're getting premium New Zealand dairy chocolate, you're paying extra for reconstituted milk powder and potentially vegetable fats depending on commodity prices, all while the creamy branding makes you think you're eating fresh dairy. New Zealand premium branding. Milk powder, not fresh dairy. Variable vegetable fat content. Number 6. Old Gold Dark. Classic Australian dark chocolate. Been around since 1916. That distinctive gold wrapper, 70% cocoa, stamped right on the front. Health positioning without explicitly saying it. Here's what happened. Cadbury owns it, which means Mondelez owns it. Same American multinational that gutted Cadbury dairy milk. They bought Old Gold decades ago and slowly reformulated it while keeping the heritage packaging. Read the ingredients. Cocoa mass, sugar, cocoa butter, emulsifiers, soy lecithin 476, flavor. There's that 476 again, PGPR, the cheap industrial emulsifier. In dark chocolate, they're cutting the cocoa butter in 70% dark chocolate with synthetic emulsifiers. Real dark chocolate doesn't need PGPR. When you see PGPR in dark chocolate, it means they've reduced cocoa butter below optimal levels to save money. The soy lecithin content is also suspiciously high. You can taste it. Old Gold has a slightly soapy aftertaste. That's excessive lecithin. And that flavor listed? added? That's vanillin, artificial vanilla flavor. Real vanilla extract costs money. Vanillin is synthesized in a lab from petrochemicals or wood pulp. When manufacturers add vanillin, it's usually to mask defects in cheap cocoa. Old Gold uses cocoa sourced from wherever's cheapest. No single origin, no transparency. The 70% cocoa claim is technically accurate, but cocoa percentage doesn't indicate quality. You can hit 70% using terrible beans and industrial processing. For chocolate lovers buying Old Gold, dark, thinking 70% cocoa means healthy and premium. You're eating Mondelez cost-cutting hidden behind heritage branding with PGPR, excessive soy lecithin, and artificial vanilla flavor. Classic Australian dark chocolate, now Mondelez owned, PGPR and artificial vanilla flavor. If this is opening your eyes, hit subscribe. We're exposing every aisle. Number 5. Ferrero Rocher. The luxury chocolate. Gold foil wrapper. Clear plastic boxes. Positioned at checkouts during Christmas. $20 for a box of 16. Premium pricing that signals quality. Every Australian supermarket stacks these at Christmas. Woolies and Coles give them prime checkout placement. We buy millions of boxes thinking we're giving loved ones something special. You're buying packaging and marketing. The actual chocolate inside costs maybe $2 to produce. Read the ingredients: sugar, palm oil, hazelnuts, cocoa, skim milk powder, whey powder, emulsifier, soy lecithin, vanillin. Notice what's first: sugar. Notice what's second: palm oil. Ferrero Rocher is primarily sugar and palm oil with some hazelnut paste and a tiny amount of cocoa. This isn't chocolate, it's a hazelnut confection. The chocolate shell is mostly palm oil and cocoa powder held together with sugar. The hazelnut itself is the deception. Sounds premium, European, Italian. Hazelnut paste is actually one of the cheapest nut-based fillings available. Cheaper than almond, cheaper than pistachio. Break one open, look at the layers. Thin chocolate shell, thick hazelnut paste filling, whole hazelnut in the center. The actual chocolate content is minimal. Most of what you're eating is sugar, palm oil, and hazelnut paste. Taste it honestly. The initial flavor is sweet, intensely sweet. The hazelnut flavor is faint and slightly artificial. The chocolate shell dissolves quickly, leaving mostly sweet hazelnut paste. There's no complexity, just sugar and palm oil. The texture is the giveaway. Real chocolate has a clean melt. Ferrero Rocher leaves an oily film in your mouth. That's the palm oil. It coats everything. $20 for 16 pieces. That's $1.25 per piece. Genuinely premium artisan chocolate costs about the same, but contains actual chocolate and quality ingredients. Ferrero Rocher is priced like premium while using budget ingredients. For Australians buying Ferrero Rocher as luxury gifting chocolate, you're paying $20 for palm oil and sugar wrapped in gold foil that costs more than the ingredients inside. Gold wrapper, luxury image, mostly palm oil and sugar. Packaging costs more. Number 4. Toblerone, the Swiss triangle, airport chocolate. That distinctive shape, the Matterhorn printed on every bar. Swiss heritage since 1908. Everything screams alpine quality. Every Australian supermarket stacks these at Christmas. Woolies and Coles give them prime checkout placement. We buy millions of boxes thinking we're giving loved ones something special. Here's what Mondelez didn't want you to notice. In 2023, they moved Toblerone production from Switzerland to Slovakia. The iconic Swiss chocolate isn't made in Switzerland anymore. It's made in Eastern Europe to cut production costs. Swiss law requires chocolate labeled Swiss must be made in Switzerland. Mondelez had to remove Swiss chocolate from packaging and replace the Matterhorn with a generic mountain peak. The triangle stayed, the prestige pricing stayed, the actual Swiss production gone. But the recipe change is worse. Read the ingredients: sugar, milk ingredients, cocoa butter, cocoa mass, honey, skim milk powder, emulsifier, soy lecithin, egg white, flavoring. That honey is mostly corn syrup with honey flavoring. Real honey is expensive. The nougat is primarily corn syrup, sugar, and egg white with minimal actual honey. The chocolate itself is mediocre. Mid-range cocoa content, standard milk chocolate. The triangle shape is the entire value proposition. Here's the sneaky part. In 2016, Mondelez reduced the weight of Toblerone bars while keeping prices the same. They widened the gaps between triangle peaks, same shape, fewer peaks, less chocolate. They called it reducing the weight to make the price more affordable. Australians noticed. Social media exploded. Mondelez copped a roasting. They reversed the change in the UK after backlash, but in Australia, the reduced weight bars stayed. We're a smaller market, less vocal. Mondelez determined we'd accept what the UK rejected. For chocolate lovers buying Toblerone thinking you're getting Swiss Alpine chocolate quality, you're eating Slovakian-made chocolate with corn syrup, nougat in a triangle shape that's been shrunk while maintaining premium prices. Swiss triangle icon, now made in Slovakia. Recipe changed to corn syrup. Number 3. Kinder Surprise. Marketed directly to children. The ultimate kid-targeting chocolate. Bright packaging. Toy inside. Every kid in Australia has begged for these at the checkout. Let's talk about that chocolate shell. Ingredients: milk chocolate, sugar, milk powder, cocoa butter, cocoa mass, emulsifiers, vanillin, skim milk powder, palm oil, hazelnuts, emulsifiers, soy lecithin, vanillin. Notice palm oil is a separate ingredient. That's because the shell itself is barely chocolate. The formulation is milk powder, sugar, and palm oil molded into a chocolate-like coating. Real chocolate uses cocoa butter as the primary fat. This uses palm oil because it's cheaper and sets hard enough to hold the egg shape. The chocolate-to-sugar ratio is obscene. One Kinder Surprise egg contains about 20 grams of chocolate shell. Of that, roughly 60% is sugar. That's 12 grams of sugar, nearly 3 teaspoons, marketed to children as a fun surprise. The toy is the hook. The chocolate is the delivery vehicle. Kids want the surprise. Parents buy it because the kid will stop whinging. Ferrero wins because they've created a product where chocolate quality is irrelevant. Nobody's buying Kinder Surprise for exceptional chocolate. Here's where it gets worse. In 2022, Ferrero recalled Kinder products across Europe and the UK due to salmonella contamination. Dozens of children got sick, hospitalizations. The company's response was slow, initial denials, then limited recalls, then wider recalls. Australia wasn't directly affected because we source from different facilities, but the incident revealed how industrial chocolate production can fail at basic food safety. Ferrero is a massive corporation making billions annually. They still had salmonella contamination in a factory making products for children. $3.50 for one egg. You're buying 20 grams of chocolate. That's $175 per kilo. You're paying for a plastic toy and packaging, not chocolate quality. For parents buying Kinder Surprise thinking you're giving your kids a harmless treat, you're feeding them palm oil shells with obscene sugar content while paying premium prices for plastic toys, all while Ferrero profits from targeting children. Marketed directly to children. Chocolate shell, mostly sugar and palm oil. Salmonella recalls. Drop a comment. Which of these brands is in your pantry right now? Number 2. Pana Organic. Premium health food store chocolate, organic certification, vegan, dairy-free, raw, every wellness buzzword. Sold at health food shops and fancy sections of Woolies. $8 to $10 for 45 grams. That's over $200 per kilo. Health-conscious Australians buy this thinking it's clean eating. The influencers rave about it. Read the ingredients. Organic cacao, organic coconut nectar, organic cacao butter, organic coconut. Sounds clean. Now look at the nutritional panel. 60% of the product is fat. Of that fat, roughly 85% is saturated fat. Coconut oil. That's what Pana is primarily made from. Coconut oil is 90% saturated fat. More than butter. More than cocoa butter. The product marketed as healthier than conventional chocolate contains more artery-clogging saturated fat per gram than Cadbury dairy milk. The organic coconut nectar is sugar, different name. Still sugar, coconut nectar, coconut syrup, all just sugar with a health halo. Same glycemic impact. Your body doesn't care what the sugar is called. Pana contains just as much sugar as conventional chocolate. The raw claim is particularly misleading. Raw cacao sounds more nutritious. In reality, most cacao has to be fermented and heated during processing. What Pana calls raw is minimally processed cacao that's still been heated. It's marginally less processed than conventional cocoa. That's it. Taste it honestly. Pana has a distinctive coconut flavor, but it doesn't taste like traditional chocolate because it's not made with cocoa butter. It's made with coconut oil. You're eating coconut confection flavored with cacao. The texture is grainy and slightly oily. Coconut oil melts at lower temperature than cocoa butter, so Pana feels softer and melts quicker. It leaves an oily residue in your mouth. $10 for 45 grams. You're paying $222 per kilogram for coconut oil, cacao, and coconut sugar wrapped in organic organic certification and wellness marketing. The actual ingredients cost maybe 50 cents. For health-conscious adults buying Pana Organic, thinking you're making a better choice, you're consuming more saturated fat than Cadbury while paying $200 plus per kilo for coconut oil and sugar with organic certification. Premium health food positioning. 60% saturated fat from coconut. Costs over $200 per kilo. Number 1. Darrell Lea. This is the betrayal that will hurt most. Darrell Lea, Australian icon since 1927, nearly a century of heritage. The licorice, the soft-eating licorice that defined Australian childhood. Proudly Australian, family-owned for decades. Your grandparents bought Darrell Lea. Your parents bought it. You probably bought it thinking you were supporting an Australian family business against multinational giants. Here's what happened. The original Lea family sold the company in 2012 after 85 years of family ownership. Financial pressure, competition from multinationals. Quinn's Retail Holdings bought it. Then in 2018, they sold it to Vida Group. Foreign ownership, private equity. The Australian family connection is completely gone. The new owners kept everything that looked Australian. The name, the branding, the since 1927 heritage messaging, Australian flag imagery. Everything designed to make you think you're still supporting Australian family business. You're not. You're funding private equity returns. But ownership is just the beginning. Modern Darrell Lea chocolate contains palm oil. Almost every product line. The chocolate blocks, the licorice coating, the Rockley Road. Palm oil everywhere. The original recipes never used palm oil. Darrell Lea was built on quality ingredients and old-school chocolate making. The new owners reformulated everything to increase margins. They can produce chocolate for less while charging the same prices. Read the ingredients on Darrell Lea milk chocolate. Sugar, milk solids, cocoa butter, vegetable fat, cocoa mass, emulsifiers, soy lecithin 476. Flavors, there's that vegetable fat. That's palm oil. And 476 is PGPR, the same cost-cutting chemistry that Mondelez uses in Cadbury. In Australian heritage chocolate, the licorice changed too. The soft-eating licorice that made Darrell Lea famous. The texture is different now, chewier, less melt in your mouth. The flavor is slightly artificial. They've reformulated using cheaper ingredients. Open a Darrell Lea chocolate block right now. Break it. The snap is weak. Real chocolate has a clean snap. This bends slightly before breaking. That's the palm oil. Taste it. The chocolate flavor is muted. There's a waxy coating. Just simple sweet followed by slightly unpleasant aftertaste. The chocolate used to be richer, creamier, more cocoa depth. The new formulation tastes like every other budget chocolate. They've turned Australian heritage into commodity product. The Australian-made claims are still there, technically accurate. The chocolate is manufactured in Australia, but Australian-made doesn't mean Australian-owned, doesn't mean Australian recipes. The profits leave Australia. The ingredients are cheaper. In 2019, Quinn's Retail Holdings filed for voluntary administration. The company was insolvent. They sold Darrell Lea to avoid collapse. A brand that survived nearly 90 years of family ownership couldn't last a decade under corporate management before requiring financial rescue. They extracted value, cut costs, reformulated products, increased margins, short-term thinking. The brand survived. The soul died. For 3 generations of Australians buying Darrell Lea, thinking you're supporting Australian family heritage, you're funding foreign private equity that bought your nostalgia, gutted the recipes with palm oil and PGPR, and kept charging heritage prices while the actual heritage is dead. Australian icon since 1927, now foreign-owned. Palm oil in everything. Go check your pantry right now. If you see Darrell Lea and thought you were supporting Australian family business, you've been lied to. The family sold over a decade ago. What's left is a brand name wearing Australian costume, while private equity counts profits offshore. Real chocolate still exists in Australia. Australian chocolatiers are making world-class chocolate. You just need to know where to look. Clean. Brand number 3. Hayes Chocolates. South Australian family owned since 1915. Real cocoa butter, no palm oil, no PGPR, transparent sourcing. The chocolate actually tastes like chocolate. $8 to $12 for quality blocks. Available in their shops and some Coles stores. Clean brand number 2. Kennedy & Wilson. Melbourne bean to bar chocolatier. Single origin cacao. Small batch. Ingredients: cacao beans, cane sugar, cocoa butter. That's it. $15 to $20 for 70 grams. Expensive. expensive, worth it for genuine craft chocolate. Clean brand number 1. Local artisan chocolatiers, farmers markets, independent chocolate makers. Or make your own with cacao paste, cacao butter and sweetener. Total control. Know exactly what you're eating. Support actual local businesses, not multinationals pretending to be Australian. 10 brands. 10 ways Australian families are being sold palm oil, vegetable fats and corporate cost-cutting dressed up as chocolate. From Cadbury's American-owned reformulation to Darrell Lee's complete betrayal of Australian heritage. From Lindt's heavy metal contamination to Kinder's child-targeting sugar bombs. The chocolate industry is broken. Corporate consolidation killed quality. Multinationals bought beloved brands and gutted them for profit. They kept the packaging, changed the ingredients, hoped you wouldn't notice. Read every label. If you see palm oil or vegetable fat, that's not real chocolate. If you see PGPR, they're cutting costs. Real chocolate has cocoa butter, cocoa mass, sugar, maybe milk. Anything else is compromise. Next week, I'm investigating Australian yogurt brands, products marketed to children, health halos hiding sugar bombs. Comment below, which product do you want me to expose next? If this video changed how you'll shop, share it. Your mates, your family, anyone still buying Darrell Lee thinking it's Australian. Subscribe. We're doing this every week, every aisle, every lie. Stay informed and go check your pantry right now.